Hey there, my lovelies, and welcome to my BookTube channel, The Sassy Library Fox. My name is V, and today I'm going for my second wrap-up video ever. February was a very short month, at least it felt short for me, and because of that I only read 4 books, and well, only is good. I think I've had worse months than this one, and the books I read were really great and I enjoyed them all. There wasn't a single one I didn't enjoy, and all of them either got 4 or I think the highest rating was 4.5 paws. So February might have been a short month, but it was a good one. And because I have to mention it, and because I'm wearing it right now, I finally got my All for the Game Neil Justin hoodie. I saw a lot of people on Instagram I follow who are also All for the Game fans and part of the fandom wear something like that. So I did some online research and ordered it. It took over a month, I think, to get to me, but it finally arrived and I'm so happy. And well, I could have gone for Andrew or Kevin, I think, as well, but Neil is definitely closer to how I am as a character. Actually, he's very close to how I am sometimes and has similar character traits. So yeah, Neil it is. And without further ado, I will just jump into the 4 books I read in February. And the first book I read was Idle Minds by Katie Salvo. And as some of you might remember, this was actually an arc I was gifted by NetGalley, or they approved me for it. And I had the best time with this one. It's kind of interesting because at about 21st%, I didn't like Taeyoung and I didn't like Jason because Jason seemed to be the bad boy Hollywood kind of type that was pretty unfriendly to everyone around him, and Taeyoung was a little bit distant and standoffish, and I couldn't really connect to him at first. But the interesting thing is, after the first 20%, those 2 characters finally meet. And from that moment on, I had such a good time with this book. I really loved that those 2 kind of grated against each other. They had a lot of conflicts and they definitely didn't like each other at the beginning. I mean, they knew each other from the beginning because obviously Jason was an actor and Taeyoung was the K-pop idol that had a former band Jason was even a fan of. So they have met already earlier on. They knew how each other looked. They are definitely attracted towards each other, but they have some troubles to get along at first. Their personalities just seem to kind of clash together. But for the project, they make it work. I mean, they are both adults, they both need the job and the publicity, so they tentatively agree that they will both try their best to make things work. And the funny thing is, I wouldn't say it's insta-love, it's more some sort of insta-lust kind of thing going on in there. As I already said, they are attracted to each other and they really hit it off, in the bedroom at least. And afterwards, after all this tension is kind of getting under control, they finally get to know each other even more, and it was really so cute to see them both fall into love with each other. They both have been hurt in their past, which is revealed throughout the book, and I think that made it way easier to understand them, because in the first 20% of the book you have no idea why they are acting the way they are, but once they get to know each other, everything starts to make sense and to fall into place. So that was great. I really loved that. They both definitely brought out the best in each other, and it was nice to see them fall in love. Of course, they are both public figures, so there is trouble ahead. And I think what I really need to mention before I wrap it up here is that they both had amazing friends. I loved Naomi, Jason's friend and manager, and I really loved Taeyeon's bestie as well. Those two women, they were amazing. They knew how to deal with those two stubborn men. So yeah, I definitely dig the female side characters in this one and had a really great time with this book. And because of that, I gave it 4 paws. It was fun. I really like that one. Okay, this said, let's jump or head to the next book I read in February, and it's The Love Hypothesis by Hazelwood. And this book, really, after the first couple of pages I already knew that this book would make me grin like crazy. It was so good. I had such a good time with this one, and it was hilarious. It had me laughing and gasping and grinning like a crazy person, because Olive and Adam, oh my gosh, Olive and Adam, they were, those two, they were a disaster, but they were a great disaster together. Which is actually kind of funny, because I think, or actually Olive is the disaster in this relationship, and Adam is kind of the quiet, broody hero that watches out for her and takes care of her. And I love this so much. This was really, there's something to be said about from enemies to lovers trope, even though I gotta say that this wasn't exactly from enemies to lovers. I mean, Adam and Olive barely had any contact during their time at university, because she worked in an entirely different field than him. She knew him from her colleagues, because they all said that he's a grumpy ass, to say it that way. But they barely had any contact during all the years, except of that one night when they kiss, because Olive takes the next best guy to show her best friend Anne, I hope I pronounced it right, to show her best friend Anne that she is on a date and that she isn't all alone. So yeah, things escalate pretty quickly from there on out. Olive just kissed Adam because she wanted Anne to believe she's dating someone, because obviously Anne is totally in love with Olive's ex and has a bad conscience, or doesn't want to date him because she thinks she would hurt Olive with it, and therefore Olive just decides to take the next best guy and to kiss him. She was actually supposed to be on a date, and well, Anne kind of surprised her by being at the lab. And yeah, from that moment on, Olive and Adam are fake dating. And the funny thing is, he even agrees to it, despite all the rumors and his questionable, how do I put it, reputation regarding students, because he makes them cry very often, and he can be a total, not nice person to his students. But for some reason, he's nice to Olive. And that fake dating trope was really so much fun. I enjoyed the weird and crazy situation those two got into. It was really so hilarious sometimes. And those two, they were so cute and adorable, and I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4.5 paws, which says a lot about my enjoyment. I think it just didn't get the 5th paw, or the entire 5th paw, because as much as I enjoyed that one, there were still things like the miscommunication trope between Olive and Adam that kind of weren't my thing. And yeah, but aside from that, a very great read, and the hype didn't lie. This was really a very great book. Okay, and now that I've talked about that one, I will come to the next one, which is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. Oh, I got it right. I always said that wrong before, but this time I got it right. It's a long title for a book. It kind of reminds me on the early 2000 years when a lot of bands had extremely long names you couldn't pronounce right, or extremely long song titles you had a really hard time to say, which always were a mouthful. I'm just thinking about Panic at the Disco here. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get back to Becky Chambers' book. And The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet is kind of, I don't know, I would say it's comfort sci-fi. If that genre exists already, I don't know. But it's really such a lovely book because mostly it's about the Wayfarer and the crew of the Wayfarer. And all those different people are living on the ship together and make tunnels to planets. And one day they get a really big contract which will give them a lot of money and are asked to make the way to the planet of the Toremi. And the Toremi are a pretty violent alien species that finally signed a truce, and they want to trade and get into contact with the other alien species. So they signed a contract, and now the Wayfarer makes its way to that planet. And as the title already says, it's small and angry. The Toremi aren't exactly the kind of aliens I would like to meet when I first make contact with aliens. I think you get the idea. So, yes, what this book actually is about isn't just them making their way to the planet, but also about all the crew members. I think the focus of this book is strongly on the crew members and their relationships with each other and their problems and the things that move them or make them think. So this is really character driven and also has an amazing found family. Really, I loved all of the crew members, no matter if it was Jenks, Kizzy, Sissix, Rosemary, Ashby, Corbin, Ohan, or I don't know. I really liked them all. I didn't have a strong, or not as a strong connection to Ohan and to Corbin because those two characters were kind of loners and tried to keep away from the others, or mostly tried to keep away from the others and didn't get all too involved in this found family. But when push comes to pull, they were still all there for each other, and this was just great to witness and to see. And I gotta say it, as a Warsy and a Trekkie, I absolutely loved to read this book because there were so many different alien species, and I really loved to learn about their culture, about how they looked like, about their interactions with the others, and how they talk and walk. It was really, for someone who grew up with Star Trek and Star Wars, this was amazing. Becky Chambers definitely has a very vivid imagination, and you could feel it on the pages. And personally, I always tried to imagine how they looked like, but with some of them I honestly failed because I really couldn't wrap my head around the appearance of Dr. Jeff, for instance. But it was a great start to a new series, and I'm so going to read the second book soon because I'm hooked now. And this book is very, very slow paced and definitely has the focus on the characters, their interactions and their background stories. But I think every once in a while you need a read like that, and you can be sure the next time I need a comfort sci-fi book, I will definitely pick up the second book of the Wayfarer series. Okay, and now let's see to the last book I read in February, and it was also an arc I already spoke about. It was Olympic Enemies by Rebecca J. Caffery. I wrote it down because I still can't pronounce it correctly. And this one was definitely an enemies to lovers book with two male gymnasts that fall in love during the Olympic Games. They are members of the UK team, and at first they really don't get along, they quarrel a lot. They kind of reminded me of Jason and Taeyoon in Idle Minds, because the dynamic there is pretty different. They argue at first, they kind of crash and, burn. When I'm already talking about crashing, I might as well add burn, because once those two hit it off and actually give in to their feelings, it's definitely burning. And the interesting thing is, they definitely had it coming for a long time, because they both find each other attractive, but they didn't give into their attraction and didn't even consider that the other one might be interested, so kept away from each other. And well, because of the constant tension that is between them, which is obviously sexual tension, because yeah, once they give into it, everything gets better. It was really so cute to watch them fall in love and to grow accustomed to each other, to share their room and their thoughts. And Lucas obviously isn't that much of a lone wolf as Oliver thought, and Oliver opens up to Lucas as well. And it was really nice to see their character arcs and to see how they played off each other so well and confronted each other about certain things. And that was really nice. I really enjoyed it. And I also enjoyed the Olympic Games aspect, because they, of course, are taking part in the Olympics. And they train and they go through their routines and they try to make gold medals or to get gold medals. So that was really nice. They even had to go to interviews and things like that. And this was a nice aspect that added to my enjoyment of the plot, because we get to see the life in the Olympic Village as well. Another thing I have to mention is that I really like the friendships in this one too, because the banter between those three, they are called the Three Musketeers for a reason, was just fun, so great. And it was really nice to see them adopting Lucas into the team. I know a lot of people said that they had troubles to believe that the relationship between Lucas and Oliver would work out, because Oliver was pretty unfriendly to Lucas at first. But I can see where those people came from with their reviews. But I personally think that it was just a misunderstanding, because Oliver tried really hard to get Lucas into the team and to make him a part of the team. But at the same time, there are a lot of things that hold Lucas back and are the reason why he doesn't want to get involved outside of the training room and outside of the mat with his teammates. So I could understand both point of views. I could understand where Oliver was coming from, and I could understand his frustration whenever Lucas rejected his invites. And well, if you go through this for 4 years, there comes a point when you just give up and maybe ask the person to come along with you, but kind of expect the person to say no. And yeah, Oliver definitely had arrived at that point, And I think that's okay, and that was very realistic, because after such a long time, you can't blame him for expecting a rejection. So yeah, I think that was realistic and well done. And I personally enjoyed this book a lot. And Insta-Lust, I wouldn't say it's Insta-Lust. They certainly have been watching each other for a while. They just weren't courageous enough to dare something. So it's kind of interesting how well they actually worked, and I think that was very believable, that once they set their troubles and their disagreements aside, they actually realized that they are a good team. Not with only their teammates, but those two as well. Okay, I enjoyed that one a lot. I gave it 4 paws, so you can see I really like that one, and it was great. I'm very glad I read this book and gave it a chance. So, well, that was my wrap up, and yeah, I know, some of you, those who watch my videos carefully and watched my last wrap up video, will know that there is a book I didn't mention in this wrap up. And it's this one. It's Winter. And I think we all remember that moment here. What I can tell for sure is that I will take it into February and finish it in February. Yeah. This moment when I said that I would finish this book by the end of February, and as you can all see, I haven't even started with it. I think that's my problem with books I have at home. I don't have a deadline to give them back to the library, and because of that I read all the library books way faster than the ones I have at home. Which is also the reason I still haven't finished Call Down the Hawk, which I started last year. Anyway, I promise I will do better in March. I promise I will at least start reading this book. I don't know how far we get in March with this book, but I will definitely read that one in March. So yeah, hashtag mood reader for you once again. I'm really such a mood reader. I can't deny it. And I'm not sorry about it. You gotta do what you gotta do. Anyway, this said, I'm already at the ending of my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, do the usual stuff you do when you watch my videos. There's nothing left to add except of take care, stay healthy and safe, and see you around the next time. Bye!